Welcome at AskProf2. We are now standing here in Delft in our laboratory. You see here, for example, a pantograph that you can test together with the catenary, how it works, how the contacts are, and also we are trying to see here below on my feet, you see the roller, and why not using a roller instead of a carbon combination of what you see in a regular pantograph. So that's what we're testing here, and I'm really happy. I'm not standing outside in the park. Beautiful weather, but this is much better to make a view on what we are doing here at the university on railway engineering. So let's go to the questions. One question was about how can you see detection problems and can you detect them maybe online? And that's really a tough question. Online detection means you need all time long, you need sensors and also information to make information out of it to make decisions. What we can say is when you look for detection on rail, when it is broken for example, you can use the signaling of course. Here in Holland we have a circuit, and when it is broken then everything will go into red, very safe and no traffic. But there are also other things. When you talk about rail and the construction, you can see with remote sensing, and when something is flooding away or you have problems, it is not that you see that just in once. You see mostly when you have flooding away, for example, an embankment, it will take a few months before it's really a problem you cannot drive over. And that's exactly what you need. You have to make a preventive action, preventive monitoring with the sensors and how to do that. That should be the challenge you can work on. And that's easier to do because when you have the data and you can make a prediction, then you can be more relaxed and not online continuously, but more predicting instead of controlling. I think that should be the right answer on this question. Another question was about how to use and how to maintain, for example, how to deal with a decarbonized layer of a rail bar. And that's a good question. You could say it's so thin, as you said, it's only 0.5 millimeters thick. It's almost nothing. And why should you make such a high effort to take it away? Because you can also say you have this very hard layer. There, just below, you have very soft, tough iron, you could say, and then you have the normal steel, what you need. So why, you could say, why not it will be worn away because of operating trains? And that's exactly the problem, because the answer is yes, in theory, you're right. But when there are some other things like ballast imprints or other imprints, because we have soft layer of iron just below the decarbonized layer, then they will be sticking in and they will also drilling in the steel, and then you really get problems in the long term. For example, cracks or other things, because you are drilling in this kind of imprints inside the steel, and that's easy because we have a very high stiffness or problems with the hardness. So when you really have an iron inside, imprints will never go out. You print it in, and they will have a future killing the rail bar. And that's exactly what will happen as a mechanism. So you need some maintenance of this decarbonized layer to take it off, and you have to do this, or accept the problems you will get in the long term because of these imprints. Another question was about, is there any criteria for a stopping train or intercity train like we have in Holland? But in Holland we also combine intercity trains and stopping trains. That means when we have the firm, that train is normally an intercity train, but sometimes you go to a secondary lines, say in the north or in the east of Holland, and that means you have a lower density of people and passengers. And that means you go on with the same train, otherwise you have to have another train. People have to go out and step into another train and go further in these secondary lines. It's a choice. You could say, is it okay to have this intercity firm train to use this? And the question is yes, when you look in theory, you could say yeah, it's not the right train type, but why you're not killing the train, for example. And I think you could say yes, there is a criteria. Stopping trains has higher speeding up and deceleration because of stopping. So they're more designed for more stopping and acceleration parts in the lifetime. So there is a difference. And of course you have stopping trains, intercity trains, but in Holland everything you could make a general conclusion that it is more or less a stopping train everywhere, because we have our countries like a big city like LA, so there is not a big distance like we have in France and Germany. So I would say yes, there is a criteria, but in Holland we use both, because the profits you have as a passenger, you gain. You don't have to switch over of trains and using another train and lose time. I think that's exactly the answer why we do it in Holland like this. The last question for today was really interesting, because you could say we have a competition of hardness between wheel and rail. You could say, okay, because of wear, we need more or harder rail, but then you get more wear on the wheel side. But then you could say the wheel should be harder, and then we have a real competition. Who will be the hardest material and to survive the wheel-rail interface. And I think that is the real world, how it happens. It really happens already. So that's why we have this hard rail like R370 or 350 LHT. And that's exactly what we do not need in these railways. Because or you have wear, or you have really high density of stresses, and you get cracks. So you have wear or cracks. But I think when you win this game, you only win this when there is a right balance. So the competition between harder rails, and then as an effect on that you get harder wheels, that's not the right competition, but we're already there, and therefore we have to enjoy RCF. And the only way to go back, like we do in France, they said, okay, we go back with a lower hardness of the rail, so we get more and we accept more wear on the rail side. But that's a choice. So you always get problems in this wheel-rail interface, and the choice is yours. What do you enjoy? Please pick out. So that's all the questions. I hope you enjoyed. I did. Really nice to see the difference of questions you have. Really good thinking over how you do and what are the benefits. I really enjoyed. So next time we have a last run over 2 weeks. Please be my guest. Send all your questions to us, and let's see what we can give a feedback to you. Hopefully you enjoyed, I do, so go on and keep on track.